a circle. So half of that is a 13. So what is a 13? It's a half of a circle. And what is the symbol of the half of a circle? It's a D. So this is why 13 is also associated with death, because it's a door. But we also talked about how you need 2 doors. And this is why the most powerful faction that runs the planet right now call themselves 2 doors. They have a symbol of an 8 to show 2 circles. They have a way in and a way out. Because most of these religions have only a way in. That's why so many people are stuck in them still. So let's get here to the notes, because we have to talk about how to get people out of the bubble, because what exists beyond this fear, oh my goodness, can't even be compressed. As much as you can take is as much as it has. Who is it? It's you. Your mind actually becomes very similar to what a video game or console is capable of doing. You can pull up things. You're literally in a world where your ideas manifest the moment you think of them, and you can feel the essence off of what you create. So it's not long before you stop creating physical images and things that you've seen on Earth and just open up a pipeline of pure energy. As you're taking in this energy, your frequency levels are on high levels. And even when you come back to this reality, your frequency is so high, it pushes things in this reality to manifest very fast on your behalf. So what I'm explaining to you is the way to get to this level. I'm going to explain to you step by step, especially within the next few weeks. We're definitely overhauling things in the resistance. I'm going to take it step by step of so many ways to emancipate yourself from the situation. It was already available. This is why I wanted to bring attention today to the difference between and also difference between and the similarities between the term rapture, as it's known by everyone, the rapture, and ascension. Okay, ascension and the rapture have also now come entwined with one another because of the New Age movement, where ascension means 2012 now. When 2012, December the 12th, blah, 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 happens, everyone will ascend. This is no different than waiting on the J-Man to come out of the sky when the end comes and hook everyone. You see what I mean? So it's almost like you have to look at, has the program seeped into our original concept of what it is to go beyond? Because look at this. The phoenix bird really did exist here, and it was a bird that can transmute itself. The symbol of that meant that you can transmute yourself from death to life. Okay? Now, if someone shows the phoenix symbol, it's immediately Luciferian. So they take the symbol and then hack the symbol and make it theirs. Now it's Luciferian. And then from Luciferian, if you do certain things, basically when they say you're Luciferian, then you get categorized even more into what society's modern concept of Luciferian is. And then it tumbles down from there. Meaning that what you'll find if you play with your mind in this program and don't understand how to remove yourself from it is a continuous locking you into the dimension, finding more ways to tell you why you should not expand out of here. That's all you'll find in your mind, because that's what it was programmed with. And it was done by individuals that before they discovered that there was something beyond this, they could have swore this was the only thing. Now, that is a very, very prominent idea on this plane. So don't think it can't happen and didn't happen with these so-called higher beings, that they imagine that they're the only one. Why? Because in the Gnostic text, Yah the Veil, Serpent himself, the one who wrote the Bible, Mr. Ophanim, says to everyone, I am the only God, there is no other gods before me, I'm the jealous God. Okay, that's actually, when you even speak that way, is the God of the Bible, this is a paradox, because why is there the meaning of acknowledging if there's other gods, if there's no other gods? So, obviously, like I said, people are under a program that will not allow them to expand outside this bubble. Our advent here, we're already here, is to teach people step by step how to remove themselves from that, because it is 100% possible. So this, to me, is like one of the greatest things, because there's nothing holding it up. The only thing that we're doing now is we're organizing things. And like I said, those who've taken a look into the resistance have seen now that there are some groups. There's going to be a lot more. Like, I'm working on some things, and my only delay right now is, because I'm also working today, is that Ning's platform is buckling under my pressure of adding things to the network right now. I will explain to you something that I did just recently learn about computers. Why is there this incessant need to go faster, make things faster? Like, have you ever noticed that with the computers, they keep stepping up the processor speed, right? But if you notice also on the PC units or the Mac units, it's now limited to Windows 7. Windows 7 is bottlenecking the power of a PC. So people have to go over to this Linux or Macintosh system and see just how fast that processor can really push their applications. But why is there all of this need to go faster? I'll tell you why. There are people now that can move so fast on the computer that the only thing they're doing is calculating the mathematics behind the shapes of dimensions and then hitting enter, because it takes a while to put in all that code, then hitting enter, and then they see the exact field and they project themselves into it. Now, once again, people would think these kind of things are far off, maybe not true, but the reality is, once you get a chance to open up the facilities that you're installed with, not something that you have to go and get from somewhere from somebody, but something that you have, you'll see that those things are the lower levels of things that are able to be accomplished. Because the other problem with those who have unlocked this information, this ability, is that they don't have the imagination to really harness it. Let me explain this to you. When you get into the fields of manifestation and your system is turned on, it's still wholly dependent upon your entire structure of what you've been through, your experiences. All of that calculates your biorhythm. And so when you go to project, nothing can change it. You see what I mean? Like, some people now are projecting into the physical reality, and they have things that look good from the outside, but in the inside they're no good. But that's why they say in the higher planes, you cannot, nobody can lie to you, because you can see everything that they project. That is the universal rule there. So I want to tell people now that a lot of their thoughts of what the controllers have really been able to do in all of their talking about their technology is false. That because of their minds, they could not harness it. It tore their brain up, so they locked it away. And because it was a part of us, it was locked inside of us. Where else to put it? They sometimes hint in movies about this. Where else to put something that you're really trying to hide from someone, but inside of them? If you put it inside of them and then you make them go everywhere else to look for it, they'll never find it. So, to the end with the diaboli, because those kind of thoughts are where that comes from, the papacy, the cardinal, the ones that are clinging on to this because they've entered Saturn and can't get out. Saturn is the cube itself. That's when, if you can't think your way out of the cube, then this is the ones who have taken the gate to hell but have not been able to get out. Because they were reading a book that taught them that they should be able to go into hell, take keys from darker beings, meaning take knowledge. See, they say take keys, like you're thinking they're going to take keys and unlock people out of stuff. No, keys are knowledge. Going into hell, taking keys or knowledge, and then thinking they're going to be able to bring it back and prosper, but have become entangled by it entirely, as the magician will always become limited to his tricks. So, what we're going to do, because this is only an hour show today, and I've pretty much got a bulk off of what I wanted to say. We've got 35 minutes left in. There's been a slight time situation which has now been corrected, but I'm sure there's another set of people that are going to be coming in about 30 minutes to listen to the show, and unfortunately the show will actually be over at that point. And it's only because here's another really strange thing that makes no sense. In Costa Rica, it's still Central Standard Time, but we don't observe daylight savings time, so it's still 10:25 here, while in Texas, it's also Central Standard Time, but it's 11:25 in Texas. So here you have two Central Standard Time zones that are different. Now, isn't the whole idea of a time zone to let everyone know what exact time you're on? So check it out yourself. Go to the internet, check out the time in Costa Rica. It's 10:25, but in most places that are on Central Standard Time, it's actually 11:25. So what's going on with the time? I'm going to take this moment. The panel is off today. They are doing some things out in the field. I just wanted to send wholeness and balance to them also, Wes and Crystal, Luis. I wanted to also say what's up definitely to also Pablo, but also Vanessa, a new addition to the team, and definitely a powerhouse in getting organized. So I definitely wanted to say what's up to her on air, and you guys are going to be hearing from her, and she's going to be the resistance liaison. She's going to be doing certain things and getting things organized, and that's going to really help to assist people to getting their questions answered right away and direction to what's happening. We're going to set up some surveys so we can figure out exactly what people really, really need and where they're at in their knowledge, of course, and their application. Of course, we're here in Costa Rica, so there's a lot being built. But of course, this stuff has to be built. And I do want to talk to everyone here about also what me and Louise have been discussing in regards to your ideas versus your actions. And this was a very powerful conversation. I didn't get a chance to record it. But what happens for us is because many of us are supreme optimists, meaning that no matter what has been happening in the dimension, we've always known that there's beyond this. The problem is bolted with the solution on the dual plane. Again, the problem is always bolted with the solution on the dual plane. If you see the problem, then all you have to do is look close for the solution. So because we know that, even when we're experiencing some of the greatest turmoil, we can get through it. So what happens often, though, is how we get through it with our ideas. We basically begin to amplify ourselves on free energy. It's just the essence of our idea. It's like running on fumes for real. Your ideas of what you're to do for the world and what you're going to do in the future and that next step. And you always have something that's your next step, like whether it's Ethereum Gold or whether it's reading that book. It's like once I get that in my system, I know that I'm going to be that much more advanced. So we have fed ourselves off of this. And this is how we've ended up becoming, it's not a breatharian, it's the Etherean being. You just basically eat ether and ideas. However, now that you've learned that supreme state, you must learn now how to transcend ethereal ideas into action. Because this is actually what its correspondence is on the physical plane. They say that the whole idea of powerful beings that could manifest things with their mind is so that later that those things that are manifested in the mind have the chance to basically act out in physicality to prove that the thought it could carry and it was that strong. So we have to understand even our existence is a strong thought by some grand beings that have yet to be identified, moving fast through space and time. So what happens is that, but even for us to remain solid back here and anchored somehow and still working with this to gain the expansion, there's a larger mind, body, soul that is actually holding us in what you call like a composition. So just remember that. Sometimes when we think that we're all alone, just remember to actually project you means that something automatically has a firm connection to you and is there for you and is bringing you through these experiences. So I kind of just got a little bit off topic, but let me just finish off with another few things, just a few more things that I wanted to announce in regards to the Resistance site. Of course, there are groups. I did want to let everyone know personally about stuff that's going to be going on within the blog, going to be going on within the forum, and going to be going on within the videos. We're going to be removing a lot of content because a lot of the content is only serving to confuse people when they are coming into the site. And a lot of that stuff is from 2 years ago, at least 2 years ago, and stuff that is already proved not to happen and already debunked, or people that were involved with other certain things that we just really don't want to have the platform contaminated with that kind of stuff. So people will be getting back posts. It's definitely no offense. Some stuff just doesn't fit in with the actual way we're going to start interlinking all the information so that it just basically lays out the entire path, and that's it. And we just want to be that for people so that they can come in, get what they want, and then go. The idea of the Resistance and AstroQuest even is not to hold people on virtual platforms, but to take them into the real world and let them utilize the information that they've been provided and actually bring it into the world. And I saw another gentleman, he was talking about how all of the stuff that we have created most of the stuff that we've created has not done anything for taking us to a next level, and that when will we learn that none of this stuff really would work? And I beg to differ. I just believe that the type of stuff that people have always dealt with, you have individuals behind it that want to control how much they give it to you. Like that's that fear of scarcity. So when you're talking about knowledge, what's happened in this world is that the real knowledge is not about how to build nuclear weapons. Okay? The real knowledge is like chemistry 101. Just being able to take something into its monatomic state. Once you can do that, you can ingest it and then see what effect it has on your inner verse. So that makes you in the world like an explorer, like a real explorer. And all you're doing is transmuting and becoming a part of things that you're encountering. And so what's the big holdup is what we're dealing with in the reality with all this different rhetoric and stuff that's useless, and like I said, junk DNA, junk information, junk TV, stuff that's not true, lies, backwards words when bad means good, ciphers where you got to basically figure out things and take apart things in order to get the meaning of it. When you have a direct connection, you're getting it through a different kind of, we'll say a different kind of cable. If language is what we use to communicate, but they're saying the cable is what we use to communicate, look at the computer. The computer has cables that it plugs into different things in order to communicate. So what is your interface? Like when I look at the bottom of your cable and what it can plug into, what does it look like? Is it limited? Is it a square? Is it multi-pinned? What is it? And so I start using these visualizations when you understand how vast you are. Like when you use the circle and you just visualize circles in tubes, like I visualize a large tube in my center that's just open. There's nothing in there that is hindering the flow of energy. When in the higher states of the meditation and doing that, it just opens up a huge vortex of energy. You just open up a gate to pure energy. In your mind is nothing. Because even to get to that point, in your mind has to be really nothing, or else everything you're thinking is just going to manifest. So do you see why when we were put on a mission to learn how to control this outside world, before we learn how to control our inside world, it was very dangerous. In addition to that, you should be able to control the rate of your heart. You should have enough control over your internal organs to basically the sound that they make, and the one that you can hear the most is your heartbeat. Once you start to learn how to control your heartbeat in sequence with your breathing through your mind is only concentrating on your heartbeat. So at that point, it has it's like a Pentium. a single Pentium. It doesn't have the ability to go dual core and start thinking about something else. When you're thinking about your heart, okay, you can't think about anything else because then you can't control your heartbeat. So once you get familiar with the feeling of when you're controlling your heartbeat, you can stay there. And then your mind has no access to you. So this is literally like, as the alien, you've walked into the heart and closed the door. And it's barriered from the mind's constant, I wonder if we got to go. How much longer are you going to do this? How long do you think we've been here? How long do you think you've been holding your breath? Do you see that? What do you think that is? I see something out of the corner of our eye. I think you should look. This is feeling spooky. I don't know. Are we doing this right? My leg is tired. You see, you got to lock yourself out of certain things. And then you have to lock things out. And one of them is the mind. In the higher states of the meditation, lock out the mind. Control your heart. Make it beat to the rhythm of your breath. And then from that point, you're now in the zone. You'll know what to do from there. So those are the blank, as I call them, the blank directions that need to be applied action. And that's what we're dealing with. So I'm going to just give this time to look into the chat box here. I want everyone to know that I've definitely been up for quite some time. I was up actually early this morning continuing this overhaul. So I'm just a little bit under the weather as far as energy is concerned, but I think I'm still projecting it really well. But there's a lot of things that need to be done. It's almost like in making contact with myself, I looked at the site and I said, man, this could be so much more fluid. We could do so much more. Let's get to working on it. And that was like about 4 days ago. And then ever since then, I've just been doing like the no sleep in front of the computer, just some quinoa, a bowl of quinoa or something over there to eat, or a smoothie, and then back at it again and just getting on this mainframe and getting everything tightened up. And then once everyone gets informed from there, then we can move into the field, because the other thing is that I'm going to be moving into the field now. I'm not going to be on the internet as much, but everything will even remain more cohesive because people will get a chance to see me and a lot of other people that I'm coming in contact with. And it just gives us more reasons why, and it just gives us more ability and encouragement. It becomes a lifestyle, and that's what we really need. Like, there's nothing here that cannot be thwarted. There's nothing here that cannot be changed and transmuted. It's just based on how many individuals that make themselves available for that. And the first thing that happens is the transmutation happens within you. The only real thing is that we must control it in the inside, because that controls the outside. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. If you understand how to command your body, send it commands. Don't be clammed up in thinking, oh, I'm talking to myself, or thinking, I don't even know if this is even right. I separate so many different parts of my body because they are different. Like, the heart is not the kidney. So I talk to the kidney, or I talk to the heart, and let the heart talk to the kidney. You have to start running these type of drills within your own body, like, let's shape up. Because this is where the mind, have you ever noticed how the mind in certain individuals can really overpower their fatigue and overpower many different things if they just have a strong mind? You got to look at some of the individuals that truly train their minds so that their bodies can respond to when they need it to go into action. But in this case, you're not just going out to be some type of MMA fighter. You're working on controlling your organs. Then once you can do that, then you've opened up that portal. So what I'm going to do is, that's pretty much, like I said again, all I needed to really say. I'm going to take a moment. We're going to put a little bit of music on for a minute. I'm going to take a look at the chat box, since I don't have anyone that's actually looking at it for me right now, to see if there's any questions. And then if there's no questions in there, we're going to go ahead and conclude today's show so I can get back to organizing the resistance really fast so that everyone can get into this next experience. So I'm just asking everyone to hold on for a moment while I go ahead and examine things and take a little drink of water. Okay, if you would like to call in, you can call in at area code 347-996-5688. That's 347-996-5688. And if you press 1, then I can see I can see the indicator here, and then I can answer your question. So what I'm going to do before we conclude today's show is I'm going to talk a little bit about the group titles and just a little bit of what's happening within the resistance and what's going to be changing. So of course, now the groups are up on the front page, and we also are having a new Start Here section built right now. And this is going to allow new members that come in to get the exact information they need to get in order to get familiar with the site, what the site does, and where everything is. And I think that that's obviously simple to do, but of course we've been really, really busy. And I think also the resistances really needed to be for a while, just a place that gathers information, thoughts, and we start to share certain things with each other in order to be able to cull from that or take from the top of that and then present that to the world. So our experiences and what we've been dealing with for the last 2 years are now going to be put in a way where people can also basically have that growth within a short period of time by understanding that when we're all connected, we all begin to experience the same thing. And so when a person reads what they're experiencing, it just allows them to quicken. It's just called the quickening. It basically makes a pipeline, like one big guy is running in front and then everyone's following that person just to move through this thing faster. It's not like the one in the front is the leader and et cetera. It's not an ego thing at all. It has nothing like that attached to it. It's just an effort to get something complete. Like people that build a house, everyone's in it and in there working. And no one really has that much time to focus on what another person is doing because you're focusing on your work. So these groups are like the armaments of the ship itself, because really what I want to do is I want to keep a lot of the terminology very simple for people by using analogies of things they have to deal with every single day. And also even ideas of what it would really be like to be on something galactic, because we are on a ship. The Earth is spiraling with the sun and all the rest of the vehicles or parts of the vehicle through space. And so we're on a ship. And from that standpoint, then we have these armaments or compartments. And we have individuals that are in there that are working heavily on those parts. So that way there can be a wholeness within the ship. And so one of those parts is the lucid dreamers, which is one of the groups. A lot of people have definitely commented a lot. We saw that really more than anything else about their dreams and asking what their dreams mean. That was really the bulk of what was going on in the forum. And so we wanted to dedicate a specific group to lucid dreaming and the dream interpretation, because it's something that many of us have the ability to do. We have universal systems for signs and things that one may see. And it's just something, and many people want to experience the lucid dream, and there's a lot of techniques to help you with that, and many of them that are definitely been tested out by a lot of people in that work. So we want to just get you access to that, so that way all that information can be in one place. We also have etymology and ciphering. I think there's been a lot of books, a lot of posts and different things where we've just really torn into the etymology, and all those posts are really not visible anymore. And so we really want to start moving a lot of stuff into these sections where it can really be specific for people and they get a chance to see all of the information that's related and what we've accumulated on that particular title. The In the Know section or In the Know group actually gives us the ability to give you current affairs. Most people don't watch current affairs in regards to what's going on in the news and what's going on around the world, because in their spiritual or inner-verse journey, they tend to not like to get involved with that kind of stuff. However, of course, we're a faction, so we definitely get involved on all fronts. And one of those is still in the world. Like, we have big ideas for the world and what we want to do for humanity, but we want to do it like a laser. We don't want to go in there with the elephant gun. We don't want to start marching downtown and, see how much effect that causes and wasting people's time. So what In the Know is about is watching exactly what's going on around the globe with current affairs and how that meshes into the overall occult nature of the reality, and basically what we can do in our own fields in order to help others in what they're going through, and also keep up levels of defense against much of the things that are being sent out from a negative level in the reality. We also have other species and life forms. There's been a big desire of myself to actually categorize many of the beings that I know and recognize are running around the dimension. I've even seen them now in certain individuals that are out there speaking. And this species classification, I think, will really help us figure out exactly why we should not be blaming one particular species for a problem, meaning the reptiles or the goats or whatever, but more to identify the entire classification of them, where they come from, etc. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we really need to talk about with the geometry, that kind of thing. So we approach it from an entirely different level as a categorization that's really non-biased. There's spiritual technology, which is really things like orgone to me, the GB4000 to me. This is really spiritual technology in the sense that where technology is being used in order to allow us to identify the actual core patterns of the universe. Like within the cymatics, it is still it's technology because this frequency is generally being pushed through a frequency generator, and there's a chip in there. So from that state, it's technology, even though this word tech is a lot older than the idea that we have for technology itself, because tech is the root to the word Aztec, and tech always means ahead. So basically, if you look at the word technology, and that's how it got synonymous with what's ahead, but it doesn't mean that our technology is ahead. So in a nutshell, spiritual technology section is the fringe of what allows you to actually benefit from, what will allow you to benefit from some of the things that have been developed through the different means that we've learned now. We have also psychotropics and fringe, and this, of course, is more deeper into the things such as the dimethyltryptamine, things such as ayahuasca, and what those journeys really entail, what they bring about, and their overall effect on spirituality. So it's more of a section for individuals like the psychonauts and the ethereal Time Lords that have gone out into other planes and seen other things, and they can bring that information to let us know really more of what's out there in their universe, I guess. Ascension techniques is that overall area where Reiki masters and different individuals that have techniques can share those techniques. Like, there's been some awesome ways of breathing. Of course, we're going to be doing some more whole body breathing videos, but we want a place to put all of that, so those who want to work more on their technique rather than their speed, they can go in there and get serviced. So that's pretty much going to be it for today. I'm going to take one caller from the 404 area code, and then I'm going to take a glance in the chat box. As I said, everyone, just a little bit tired today. However, we got a lot that we're pushing out in the resistance, so it's important that we remain present. So I'm always here for you. Okay, caller from the 404 area code, you are on the 2012 show, Wholeness.
Peace, brother. This is Angel calling from Atlanta. How you doing today?
I'm doing exceptionally well, Angel. How are you?
I won't complain. Yeah, one time I know you were talking about making the library available. I wanted to know where you are at with that at this point.
The library actually should be available now. We did have a little bit of trouble with labeling everything, but everything did get labeled. Well, actually, we didn't finish labeling everything, but we did get a chance to actually make all the downloads available. So if you go to the, I believe it's isu.com. I can put the address in the chat box here. I think it's www.isu.com / or actually maybe the resistance, but I can check on that for you, and then if you just link up with us through the site, then I can get it for you. But it is open. We were able to take all those books that they became downloadable. I'm not sure if you've been in there lately.
Yes, I have. Okay, I'll go back and check. I appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, actually it is. It's issue.com / the resistance. That's ISSUU.com / the resistance.
Okay. All right, thank you, brother.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, that was our only caller. And like I said, let me just check the chat box here real quick. All right, so we're going to go ahead and, like I said, I'm going to conclude today's show and go and do a couple things. Like I said, definitely look forward within a week and a half. We're also relocating a lot of different projects coming out through Resistance, a totally new overhaul, everything really, really becoming more fluid. We're going to get everyone incorporated. We're going to get some weekly newsletters out to you to let you know what the developments really are around here. And also, I wanted to let everyone know in regards to cleansing, like what needs to really, really be done and just what's going on today and where the energy really is. I would really tell you to avoid getting angry and start learning how to use the anger energy, if you're experiencing that at all, to propel you. Because that is the energy that's coming across. It's more like a red energy. And you have to understand how exactly to use that energy to not infuriate you, but to allow you to go into a Zen state, so that way you could become highly effective and highly powerful at what you wish to get from your total experience. So I want to say thank you to everyone, and wholeness and balance vibrations.
Wholeness and balanced vibration to everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in again. This is another amazing time of fire and light. This is episode 2, and we're going even deeper. Today we're going to talk about balance. We're going to talk about focus. We're going to answer some questions, as we always do, but more importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to show some techniques and And here we are. It's happening again. It's the day of the days. Like, there's so much stuff going on. I can't even just isolate it. But the good things is that we're here together. And I'm going to be starting something new. I'm super amped up even right now. I'm calling it fire and light. Like, we've heard a lot about the fire and ice. This is about fire and light. And what this is about is that I'm starting to narrow down every single thing that's taking place in this reality into these two elements from an intrinsic level. And even today, I'm going to be answering just a couple questions, some deep stuff that I know that we all want to get some tips on. And then with those answers, I'm going to analyze kind of like the fire and light aspects of things, and we're going to do something amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into this. I'm not even going to take too much time to do the blah, blah, blah. As you know, there's amazing things going on at the Secret Energy site. My name is Seven Bomar. I'm the developer, founder of Secret Energy, and I'm also part of Open Source Spirituality, which is bringing all this knowledge to you, every single thing that we've gained in this period of time of our expansion, just laying it out, bringing the images and bringing all the stuff that allows you to get to the next level. Because we believe, personally, we rise by lifting others, and we've done that for years. So if this is your first time hearing what we present, it's a treat for you. And then on top of that, you can go into the archives, you can subscribe, and you'll find tons of stuff that we've done that just gives you just so much knowledge that really people are not hearing these days. So that's another reason why I'm coming out hard as ever now, because I feel like, the message is getting a little redundant out there. It's time to go ahead and throw in some more key things and some more important things for people to know in their progress. So I'm going to start this off by answering some questions. And now these questions are actually posted on the Secret Energy website. And I just want to tell you right now, if you haven't been to secretenergy.com, you're missing out. There's also an app. You can download it from iOS and Android. And these questions are coming from our Ask section. And every time I see a question, and I just want to jump in there, but already I'm doing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 things in a minute. So I had to desist for a moment and let the amazing people that are already on the site help you out and answer your question. And then if somebody has one of those whack kind of crazy troll answers, it just gets voted down. And so what you get on the top is you get the cream of the question that you need to get the answer to. And then you also get some pretty intelligent, amazing, conscious people that are there also to help you with your issues, and you can meet those people, you could talk to them, and you could share. So I'm going to be answering some of those questions. I want to jump in because that's my own passion. So that first question is actually from Awakened Soul in Me. How do one use the universal laws to make money? So they were pretty direct. You know, sometimes people beat around the bush. There seems to be this huge separation between making money and spiritual knowledge, and there's this whole conviction going on. But then when it's time to buy those expensive organic foods and those advanced devices and those crystals and all those things, the pocket's a little bit short. One is left asking the universe for what? To help you out, to get you some information about picking up your current. So ding, that's what I appear here for. So I'm gonna answer that question. First of all, we need to really distinguish what's going on here with money. I call money the hack. It is actually this intermediary quotient that is put in place in order to allow you to transfer energy with someone through a piece of paper. And of course, that's not just any piece of paper. That's a piece of paper made out of trees, sacred trees at that, and also blended with, there's a magnetic strip, there's a signature on it, and there's some weird symbols on it, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And basically it sums it up as a talisman. So money is basically the hack in the dimension that allows all the people that have some to actually begin to transfer their energy with others, but sometimes not necessarily building that energy the proper way. So if someone asks me personally, what are the keys to making money, I will have to say, and how does that connect with universal laws? I will have to say, do we even know what universal laws are? And the thing is that universal laws are empirical. As I said, money is a hack, but universal laws are things that apply to what's exactly going on in the reality and the mechanics of what's going on behind the scene. So a good example of universal laws are the fact of fire and light. And let me see, am I going to be getting in that deep into that right now? No, actually, I'm just going to give you one example. I'm going to give you one example of the laws of light, which are basically the periodic table. And as you know, in the periodic table, and if you don't know, now you know, on the periodic table, the elements that are closest together have some semblance with one another. So let's say in this case, carbon and silicone have this relationship, and that's why they're on the periodic table close together. But if we look back into the reality and we say, where do we find carbon and silicone? Obviously, human beings are carbon-based life forms. And then you find human beings in this locked in this relationship with silicone. And how we see that is, of course, you know, if you check out some of the women, they got the silicone in the breasts and silicone. So the silicone is inside of them. It's not even next to them. And then obviously there's a big addiction to technology right now. And obviously all those chips are made out of what? You guessed it, silicone. So what the universal laws are is looking at the periodic table and seeing what the semblances are, seeing what the building blocks of how the reality is actually constructed, tearing apart the atom for all of its different elements and seeing how those elements connect, bond, connect and retract and repel one another, right? So if someone is aware of those universal laws, then they can say, all right, well, we're going to develop something out of silicone, and we know that these carbon-based life forms are going to love to be in connection with it, and the silicone-based life forms are going to love to connect with them. So this is a law, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this in just a moment, that actually doesn't think. So the silicone is not saying, I wonder if this is a good human or a bad human. Should I be inside of them or not? And, you know, so the silicone is not doing all of that. It has a specific command that is already hardwired, and it responds to that command. All right, so we're going to keep going from there. So again, that gives you a little bit of glimpse also into the realization of the difference between fire and light. I'll take you a little bit deeper. Inside of all of us is actually both of these elements. We are fiery. The body in itself is like a flame, if you know anything about the occult. And it's just because we don't understand all the stages of light and frequency and sound that sometimes that could be obscure to us. It's like, well, Seven, I'm not sitting over here burning a hole in the couch, so how could I be related to fire? However, if you got an attitude or you're angry or you just finished jogging around the block, you'll find that you have a lot of heat. And in fact, as mammals, there's a lot about us that connects into heat. We have to stay hot at a high degrees, if you really think about it, in order to remain alive. So there's this huge connection then between us and fire. And then in addition to that, we have this lighter, more subtle element going on around us that we could just call light, which is also connected with gases. And if you could think about that, you could think about neon, right? So neon is a gas. But how much do you know about neon? When's the last time you heard about a neon? A neon light. That's the only connection that you get with it. But neon, if you check out the periodic table, is actually a noble. And it doesn't actually react. Okay? So notice all the noble elements, the ones that are made of light, are on the inauguration because somebody said something crazy to you, because somebody stole something, or just that person that you don't like that you always talk about, whatever. If you just choose not to react, then you'll find yourself making yourself more noble, being filled with more light, not losing as much energy. And these are what I'm referring to as universal laws, universal principles. Okay, so you can see clearly money doesn't even make it into that category because money is a principle of fire. Money is actually created by the fiery beings. And if you're looking to get into developed by the fire. So let's keep going through this. I got another question. Brother Michael, 7-foot seeker, says, I have been experiencing a bit of deja vu lately, and I've heard a few different perspectives on the topic, and I heard Seven mention it is in some of his videos. What are some of the perspectives or perhaps truths you have experienced or discovered, and I'm assuming they're saying based on the deja vus? And I would say for sure, my brother, is that I've experienced things that allow me to know 100% that this reality is actually not just running backwards, but is in a hyperdimensionally repeating itself. And this is what deja vu is. So if you're very perceptive of the moment and you realize what's going on and you get that deja vu feeling, what that is more or less that part in the record where the song is actually being changed. Or if you notice how the frequencies, where there's a spike in the frequency, that means something significant is going on or happening. And again, you can witness this on a record because a record is made out of magnetics. And of course, our body has an electromagnetic field. So all of our memories and all of our experiences are stored on this disc then. And this needle at times, who we are, when we focus on certain things, starts playing that disc. And that's what we become perceptive of. That's our reality. And so when you get into a point on that disc to where you start to have a significant event go on that spiked a scenario for in your last circle or circuit or unit of time, then you start getting this recollection that, hey, I was here before. And in fact, you were. So let's keep moving through this. I have another question here. And this is by a guest. They didn't actually want to say who they were because they probably actually were in college. The question is a college education even worth it? I know parents are looking at me right now and like, okay, well, if it's some of our followers, they'd be like, hey, no. And then if it's some of those people who just got in, it's like, is he going to endorse that, hey, that college is not great? So I'll tell you like this. It all depends on what you have plans to do. If you have plans to get into that college and then to start to not only connect with people that are going to help you with your crowdfunding campaign, other people who know how to develop tools and equipment, to get up under that science teacher or that physicist teacher and say, hey, you know what? I'm trying to really look deeper into these tachyons. Have you heard anything about this? Or you may go to them, another person and say, hey, you know that the CIA just declassified all these documents called Stargate on their website, and they're saying that remote viewing's true. What do you think about this? And start getting a documentary off the ground. So what I'm saying is that at college, there's a plethora of minds that are receptive to what you need to say. It's all about whether you're going to engage them or not. So I'll say they're receptive to what you either going to say or can do. But are you going to engage them? Are you going to sit in college like that guy that's just buried in the books or that woman that's buried in the books and, going through all these curriculums and courses that are all spanned out that you're never going to use again? So if you're going to do that, I would say no. But if you got this agenda to go in there and utilize the knowledge that's truly there, I would say, yeah. Even deeper than that, for those that are not in college and maybe not be able to enter into college, I would say the biggest investment is in yourself. And you can invest in self-education. You can immediately take up a trade right now of something that is booming, and then you can start literally learning just that, become a professional and certified in that, and then take yourself to the next level. So I would say that's how you get a real education. So we're closing this down here. This is not supposed to be a long session. These are going to go on at least once every other day. That means that you need to get on the site and start typing in some good questions, because if the question's good, then we'll say it here. If the question's one of those, hey, I want to know what clouds mean in my dream, don't be surprised if it don't make it on the show. So here it is. This is from Badessa. She says, is there something that can be done to get rid of emotional attachment from past sexual relationships? Even if the breakup wasn't a bad one, there's something left inside that feels like there's still a connection. Is there some type of relationship cleansing that needs to be done after splitting up from a boyfriend or a husband? Now, of course, there's a procedure that you generally want to run where you start to cleanse yourself. Like we even do that every day. We don't even let people in the house that haven't cleaned their aura with some sage and some Palo Santo. But this is a little bit deeper. It's about if I've had a connection with someone, how do I need to clear myself from that connection? The truth is, it's something very deep. It's something that I actually had to deal with a little bit of time ago, actually a few days ago, and it was an amazing experience. I'm here, and then when we come forward, I'm going to tell you exactly about how to clear your energy and how to get yourself in the right state of mind, right state of conscious, spirit, etc., after you've dealt with one of those relationship situations. Wholeness. So this is the pressing question. Jones in the bones, what do you do about it? Meaning if you've been with somebody and then you had to let them go for whatever reason, maybe your path was going in one way, their path was going in another, and there was a split, but you're still thinking about them and you're wondering, how do you clear that energy? This is it. First of all, you have to come into realization that when we say all is self, it doesn't exclude anything. So that means that that person is actually connected to you and always will be connected to you. However, if we're just looking at the connection that goes on in the physical reality, which sometimes is virtually non-existent, meaning that how we treat each other at times is this fictitious version of not even realizing how connected we are. We let gender separate us. We let race separate us. We let opinion separate us. All these different elements that basically create separations. You got different languages that separate people. You have, whether he likes the beard or whether he doesn't. So infinite separation in the reality. But is that really the truth? No. And this is exactly why we can live in the reality at times in a total illusionary state, because the separation doesn't really exist. On another level, we're all connected. However, how we express ourselves to each other is not through the divisive languages, especially the one called English, but through a connection and a feeling that allows us to truly understand where each person is coming from and to enjoy that. So if you've had an experience with someone in this reality and that experience has been negative, or you're just simply ready to move on from that experience, that doesn't mean that you disconnect and actually really truly leave them, because you're always connected to them. But one of the most important things to remember is you have to not hard code in your mind that there's this disconnection, because then that's how you disconnect yourself from the world of all knowing, where everything is connected. You have to realize that what that person does in this space, as we talked about earlier with the deja vu, is all a part of the experiences that they're having in the reality and the things that they're going to need to be learning about, and how to do things the right way, the wrong way, and every other way before they start to wake up and realize what's going on. And you become a part of that experience, just like they become a part of your experience. But where there is no time, where there is beyond experiences, there's a connection between you and that person that's endless, but there's also a connection between you and that person and everything else that's endless. So that's how you get your mind right about the situation. You let the person say, I'm going to put that person in that place, meaning that you let them stay in that place of when you knew them in the climax of the scenario, the best that they could be, and you leave them there because that's how they exist. And in this reality, you move on in the total realization that in that space you're connected, but in this one, you may have to part. We're going to keep going through this. We're almost done. There's another question here, equally as pressing. It is, how can I regulate my sexual energies? Now, this is a big one. And in fact, there's an entire show about this. It's kind of escaping me right now what that show is. And this was also a question asked by a guest. And what I would say for sure is that the only way to truly overcome the passion of the lower chakras is to realize the difference. And that becomes not a mental realization, but an actual experience. Start to realize the difference between a healthy chakra center and an unhealthy chakra center. And it's very simple. In the healthy chakra center, the lower chakras feed the higher chakras. In an unhealthy chakra system, the higher chakras feed the lower chakra centers. So I'm going to give you an example of it. So if I see, let's say, some attractive woman and she's got her phi all right, and then all of a sudden I become attracted to her, then what happens is my eyes pick up that initial attraction. My senses even pick up that initial attraction. And then when that comes in, because all your senses generally are here, all your perception away. So there's a gratification, there's a feeling that comes that says, oh man, I like that. So that's when the higher chakras are used to feed the lower chakras. And so what they say a healthy chakra center is when actually you can do all of that stimulation inside, meaning that you're so attracted to yourself. You're so attracted to your experience. You're so attractive to the moment that you're actually in. And that's coming from within. And the reason why this is a healthy chakra center, because you don't find yourself dependent upon all these different things. You don't find yourself upset because people don't do what you want them to do. You find yourself in this position of maximum power to where when you are constantly in this perpetual attraction with yourself, that means internally your lower chakras, let's say that root chakra energy of attraction, is being used to fuel the higher state of consciousness and the higher mind, the passion and the motivation. So when you start seeing that, hey, maybe you've been selling your energy a little bit short by just a quick pleasure from physicality, and then you start demanding that you get this higher level of energy, that they bring me the transmuted energy. I understand what you can bring me on a physical level. I've seen that before. If you're a little bit older, you've seen all of the cooties and you've seen all the birds and the bees already. So you know what's going to happen after that. But what happens when you transmute those energies into the higher chakras and start allowing it to fuel your vision? Well, that's the thing. It's limitless. So you can't really per se say you know what's going to happen. You just know you have the energy to make anything happen. So when your desire for that becomes greater than that momentary pleasure with someone that is often rapidly fading because they pick up from you that that's all that you want and that you've been fed with that, then you'll move into that level. So final question here for my great friend Peter Crum, who I got to catch up with real soon. The question is, what are the smartest investments for money? Okay, so we began with money, we end with money, but on a different level. See, this shows you that you could take a consciousness and you can apply it really to anything. It's the panacea. It affects everything. So if you want to know personally, what is the best thing you invest your money in? I would say personally that you can right now print money. If you know what you're doing, meaning that you can buy machines that can print money. And I'm gonna give you some examples of that. There's first casting. So this process is when you take metal and you shape and mold it and fashion it into whatever you want, whether it's a ring, whether it's a piece to a device, all these different aspects of molding metal is called casting. So it turns out that you can buy printers such as the Form 2, and you can use a castable resin, and you can 3D design or have someone else 3D design you something, and then someone can actually go and make a casting of that into brass, into silver, gold, whatever. And then there's another way that you can actually make your way in this world. So that's one way. You also have laser cutting. So there's a lot of these machines that also, they can cut these special looking lamps that just look amazing in this geometry that you've been looking at. They can cut different materials. So there's another machine. Arc welding. Some people have that deep artisan skill. But if you grab one of those, I think it's called the Orion, the M3 Orion arc welding, small arc welder, you have the power of an arc welding machine right into the tip of your hand. So now you can put all those little pieces of wires and those things that you put together so nicely, even nicer, which attracts more people to your work. You got carbon fiber molding. I think that's let me see. I have to come back to that machine in a minute. It does carbon fiber. That's the Mark 1, Mark 2 printers that actually print out carbon fiber. You got some jewelry procurement by other machines that actually even, this called the Murua. That's Murua. This is another machine that after you do casting, you just throw the cast right into this machine, and it uses particles in order to repair the cast so it looks like it came right out of a jewelry store. So you get the point. You literally can invest into a money machine and learn some trades, or go to Upwork and get someone that actually knows the trade, and then take your creativity and take your idea. Don't let your idea be hindered by you not knowing how to operate something. You can't operate everything, but start narrowing it down and isolating exactly what you want to do. Stay focused on that, and then say, okay, this is the machine that connects with what I'm doing, and then do something like that. Become an entrepreneur. This is about what I call going from zero to entrepreneur real fast. And then if that's not your thing, you just don't want to get in that kind of fabrication, again, invest in yourself. Invest in your self-education. So that is it today. There was one final question. Somebody asked, hey, what's up with Phi Aqua? And I'll tell you for sure, Phi Aqua is coming. I'm very far along in the project. Things are going excellent. You'll definitely hear some more stuff from us. We have some amazing cats. I got a guy that's like Mobius coming in here next week that's going to really show us hand-drawn skill of how you create not just stuff like this, but also comic books and just immense talent. So look out for that. That's my good friend Lawrence Fletcher. You can also check him out on Facebook and then friend him. So you'll see I'm also friends with him. So Phi Aqua is coming. Also, what we're going to add to this show that we didn't get in today is I'm going to have some recommended books, and we're going to have some recommended techniques. You can check all that stuff out. Obviously, hit the subscribe button if you've never heard from us before. Check us out on secretenergy.com. We're going to get to it this year. We rolling. We'll talk to you soon. Wholeness. And we're going to get into some things that's going to give you some immediate applications to what you're experiencing in reality. So for those of you that are just tuning into the show, I ask that you definitely hit the subscribe button right away so you don't forget when you leave. But know that you can ask questions to anything really that's related to intelligence, knowledge, spiritual prosperity, consciousness, fulfillment, etc. And how to accomplish that. You can go to the Secret Energy website. You can hit the Ask section, and you can go ahead and leave your question there, and we'll answer it for you if we feel like it's pertinent. So no trolling. So the first thing, I'm going to jump right into this. I've been asked a lot of questions about this whole blood over intent thing going on the internet. Years digging deep into the depth of occult knowledge, spiritual knowledge, esoteric knowledge, any kind of knowledge around the planet that we can find to be useful. So I will say first and foremost that this is a part of the degradation that I feel like is constantly taking place with not just the reality, but also the conscious community, meaning that we can get taught things over and over and over and over again. But if we don't put those things into application, then we can sometimes not see the results and still keep looking for a result. So I feel like the blood over intention thing is more of like that same problem with what I call the genie in the bottle effect. This is when a person's literally looking for one thing to change everything in their lives. So when it really is about what diet are you on and how much toxins do you have in your blood and what do you spend your time thinking about, what you'll find is for many people, they're still looking for an easier, quicker way to actually accomplish the great things that are often spoke about with the achievements in spirituality. And you can see the obvious pitfalls in a concept like that because personally, I would say there is no substitute for hard work. If you're looking to get to the expanse and to really progress, then you need to start focusing on things that bring that about and be truthful with yourself. Don't look for something imaginary. So I will say for the record that you can do more with your blood by clearing it up with something like megahydrate, which is hydrogen, getting the toxin out of your blood, getting more oxygen in your blood. That's, of course, working out, exercising. And what that brings about is it brings about the manifestation. Because what is intentions? Intentions are manifestations. You want to see something get accomplished. But we've talked about how the current, any kind of current, whether that's the circulation and current running through our body, which the blood does, that somehow translates to even money in the reality, that translates into creativity. So any kind of current has to be addressed from its energetic perspective and its energetic potential. So what you find with blood is that when blood gets older, it actually turns more of a brown color. And then there's a lot of oxidation within the blood. This means that basically this is the process of the body going through the death experience. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can keep your blood strong, rich, red, and most importantly, inside of your body. And it can allow your current and your creativity to build in your body. And that's what's actually going to give you the manifestations of your intention. So not blood on a piece of paper. It's not even holy papyrus. You know, some people were even saying that you had to be younger blood. And so what that really does is, last but not least, it gets us to start thinking about if we start gauging what we're going to do based on negative individuals. The argument was brought up, well, the elite use blood in their rituals, so we should, well, they also use nuclear bombs, so should we? So think about it that way more than anything, and also just use your common sense. I have a feeling that a lot of people looked at that right away and was like, nah, that's not it. So that's my response to that. The next question here is balance in a submatrix. This question is by Denise. And Denise says, wholeness before an adequate level of sovereignty is achieved, and the majority of daily waking hours still need to be spent in the submatrix. How does one maintain a semblance of balance in what amounts to an environment of cold, predatory soup? And great question, Denise. What I really say is you got to really discover for yourself. We can only give you pointers about what neutrality is anyway. And this is a deep, deep dissertation, so I'll try to collapse it into some parable or some applicable way of you understanding it. See, for us, neutral is often good, meaning that when someone asks you to define neutral, then a lot of times a person would say, well, neutral is balance, so imbalance is harmony, so harmony is good. But in itself, good is on one end of the spectrum, and then of course we have bad on the end of the spectrum, and neither one of these can exist without each other. You won't know good until you experience bad, just like you won't know blue until you see red. This is how we process things in a dualistic reality. But the truth is that when you start getting a little bit deeper and you say, well, what is neutral then? It means that neutral is actually outside of the reality. Neutral actually doesn't have anything to do with how you're even reacting to certain things. Because let's say a good parable here was brought up about, you see two people fighting. And what happens if you just, or maybe a bigger guy picking on a little guy, man picking on a woman or whatever, and you just walk away? Is that being neutral? The truth is that actually, no, you've made a decision. Even walking away is a decision. So where true neutrality is, which is a cognitive balance, a cognitive harmony, is actually outside of this realm and has to do with mechanics that don't even have anything to do with this realm. So when you start trying to find this neutral zone in the matrix, you won't find it. The neutral zone is outside of the matrix. And this is why it's so important for you to get in touch with that part of not only yourself, but everything that you're seeing around you, to get in touch with that universal out of time aspect of it, so you could come into more realization of what you're doing. And this kind of brings you more into focus. So this then brings us to the next part of the answer to this question, Denise, and it's success versus fulfillment. And to realize, what is the difference between those two? And if you look at success for many people could be the achievement of a specific goal. Fulfillment is more like in the long run, how you processed everything. So success could be momentary then, and fulfillment is much more broad and expansive. So armed with that kind of definition, you could see that maybe some of the things that you participate in this mundane submatrix reality is to actually get you on the progress of total fulfillment. So it's just a piece in the puzzle then, not the whole thing. And you have to also focus in life to make sure that's what's going on. If you're in a situation that you feel like, I cannot endure this situation forever or infinitely, this is not going to give me fulfillment. But if it is going to bring you to that realization, well, that's how everything works. That's how inventions work. You first start off with simple prototypes, something that doesn't even look good, something that doesn't even really work, but you start somewhere. So some of the jobs that we're working right now in the mundane matrix, some of the people that we're having to deal with, et cetera, that don't even really want to focus on consciousness, they're that exact same way. They're that part of our process that is the rough sketch or rough model that we're enhancing. So we're reaching a fulfillment. So keeping that in focus as the means so you don't get bogged down and start having that affect you on a moralistic level. So going on from that, again, we're going to have some techniques in this conversation today, physical techniques about how to actually achieve focus and how to feel that within your body. Because if people don't really know where neutrality is most of the time, then we need to identify it some way. And you can't identify it through thinking because it's in the land of harmony, the land of all knowing. So this means that you can utilize other techniques that allow you to feel that you've actually achieved balance. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So just remember, though, the back and forth that goes on in the matrix, the yin and the yang, the you breathing out the oxygen and then the trees breathing in the carbon and pushing out, of you breathing out, the carbon dioxide and the trees bringing in that carbon dioxide and then making oxygen. That whole process that you're looking at is actually that major part of what agitates people so much. Meaning that instability, that good, that bad, that yes, that no, that positive, that negative is actually the way that the reality functions. So if you don't learn how to deal with that, then you actually never learn how to truly deal with and master the reality. And of course, the key is to find that neutral zone, but that neutral zone is not in the reality, has nothing to do with the reality. And this is how, when you realize that, you actually find it because you remove yourself from that equation entirely into a space that allows you to begin to calculate higher things. And this is starting to push you more towards the fulfillment. So the next thing is that the question here is about money, one of the most controversial topics for many people. For whatever reason. This question is by Absolute Wit, and he asked the question, how do I break through my hatred for money? And the interesting thing is actually how the question is phrased, because when you use the word hatred or hate, it's actually more of that you need to address, because it gets you very close to the answer to your own question. So then I will have to represent the question and ask the person, what do they hate so much about money? And then wait for a response. And since this is a monologue, I will have to respond. The person would probably say, it's because money makes people corrupt. And that's very interesting as a response, because that's how many of us think until we realize, well, first of all, what is money? What is it trying to emulate? What is it trying to do in the reality? It's current, it's currency, it's trying to emulate some kind of energy. So let's take for one moment to put money then actually in a head-to-head place with energy, so that way we can understand it better. So if money is energy, air is also energy, oxygen is also energy, and you need that. So to insist that oxygen is evil because corrupt people breathe it is the same reason, the same theology of why one would come up to the conclusion that money is actually evil. Listen to what I'm saying. But the interesting thing is, then we go a little bit deeper and ask ourselves, well, so where do all those concepts come from that money is actually evil? And we find that actually comes from media and propaganda. How media and propaganda generally portrays money is girls and cars and stock market, wolf on Wall Street, Lamborghinis, Monaco, boats, and of course, that kind of excessiveness to a reality that's suffering, starving, has countries that are poor, etc., creates a polarity. But remember, the entire reality fuels itself on these polarities. We wouldn't know poor if there wasn't rich. So this kind of thing, it starts to get us into, okay, well, maybe it's that they're not highlighting enough of how people are utilizing currency power, energy to create great things in this world. How it is an intermediary for a person that may be creating an invention, maybe creating something that saves someone's life. And that's equally going on too. So then we find that the programming around money is actually saying, hey, instead of going to do something great with your current and currency, go and waste it. Go and do all these corrupted things with it. That still will be your choice of what you choose to do with it. But that seems like it's the popular choice. Then last but not least, there is a part of the reality, especially in many of in the Western culture, that works on a slave-based mentality. And what this literally means is that there is a large group of people that they would rather keep with this idea that wealth for them is evil and should not be thought about. And that's to surely keep the person from achieving any of their inventions and things that they're going to need to have and adapt along the way that actually take money, because it takes a transfer between another person and the energy that they've invested into it. So this gives us a deeper aspect of looking at money like energy, just as it is. That's the world that we're living in right now. That's how it presents itself. And then going a step deeper and saying, okay, if it's energy, is it the energy that I really hate? Or is it how the energy is being framed and presented to me? So think about that. Next question here is, how does water, and this is by Peter Crum, the question is, how does the type of water we drink impact our intelligence level? And I love the question because obviously we're working deep with water. We're working on the FiAqua device right now, which allows you to structure, program, and energize water. Brand new way of actually getting your manifestations into your body, how to get your body online so that it can start to really work on these more subtle energetic levels and allowing you to perceive how many other levels that you're operating on like that. How much does thought really, can it really do for you? How much does frequencies really do? So water brings us more in touch with ourselves because we're 70% water. So to answer the question directly, what does water really do? It causes things to grow. And all of this conversation right now has really been about growth, but not just any kind of growth, focus or symmetric, balanced, harmonic growth. So if the structure of the water is offline, bent at an angle, corrupted, let's say the structure, the molecular structure broken down, then also all of the things about your body, your thoughts, your physicality, your energy are going to be a reflection of that because you're 70% water. So I won't dig into this any more than that. That's exactly why drinking the best water that you can, setting intentions into water, which is very sentient, is the key and a major key to getting yourself online. Probably better off than blood over intent by just dealing with your water and having that conversation. The last thing is that I wanted to introduce a technique before we close down here about balance and focus. And I found that these techniques are very instrumental because they take you out of the brain gym of trying to figure that out. And they put you more into something physical to do so that you can feel what that is. So the first chart that we're actually showing here is a chart of a blue dot with a white line down the center, and a red dot or circle with a white line down the center. And then, of course, in the center of this, you see a black dot. And the exercise here is to take the dot, to center yourself with the screen, and to merge, look at the dot, and to then merge the red and then the blue circle in with each other, to begin to learn how to control your eyes to pull those together. And what you'll experience is, as the red dot is on each side of this, you'll experience that the images will merge. You'll get more or less a fusion of red and blue. And you'll also see how mentally that feels when you start to center your vision. And you can get more familiar with that feeling. And the second image here is actually a little bit more acute at getting you to feel the feeling. So the first one is really to let you learn the technique. The second one is to let you feel what the technique's actually doing with your mind and how it gets you into three-dimensional space. So this diagram is actually two hypercubes. And then what you do is you use the same technique from the first design and you merge those two hypercubes together. And then what you experience, if you get it right, once you merge them together perfectly, is they pop out from the screen. So they literally create a three-dimensional thing, and that also feels a certain way. So this is how you get yourself more in touch with how does it feel to be balanced, more so than trying to think about what it's like to be balanced. So, and in that note, wholeness and balance vibrations will check you out soon. Tell all your friends that we got it going on over here. Fire and Light, we're answering all the major questions. Get on the Secret Energy, get your questions out there. You know, start throwing some real stuff out there. You know, address the real things happening in the reality and the stuff that you want to know. Keep it concise and as clear as possible so that way we can get you the answer as soon as possible. And then also you have other people that are on the site that can help you too. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you soon.